more time. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Prabhu. Tell us about Srila Prabhupada and how movement starts, because he is one of the first Prabhupada disciples who was assisting Prabhupada for many years in his journeys.
We'll just sit you up where we are.
We had philosophy. We could study any philosophy was available to us. We had these things, but we still couldn't find what it was all about. We were searching for meaning, for the truth behind everything. So, and we had these drugs, these marvelous drugs. You may have heard of them, the hallucinogenic drugs, which showed us that there was a reality beyond this black and white reality that we were raised in. And it was just as meaningful as the present, as what we were seeing in our lives. So, through all of this struggle to find something meaningful, this person came. This person came. The most marvelous person who's ever graced this planet. He walked through this window in time. He was born in the 19th century, and he came to us at the crux of the 20th century. All these things came together. All these wonderful historical things came together, and the Bhaktivedanta Swami came through that window at the perfect time. Now, I was very fortunate that my best friend, who is now Mukunda Goswami, met Srila Prabhupada in New York in 1966 and became one of his very first disciples. Now, Mukunda, my friend Michael, he and I were great friends in sense gratification. We took drugs together, we listened to jazz together, we did all the things that young people did in those days. And he was my best friend. So when I saw him, after he had met the Swami, he came to see me and he said, "You've got to meet this man." Michael, I don't, another one of those things. But I saw the change in him. And I thought, wow, after testing him thoroughly for about 2 months, I saw him become, he refused to take any kinds of drugs, even coffee. He wouldn't eat any meat. He wouldn't go out listening to music. But he was always happy. I noticed that. He was always happy, chanting something on these little big red beads he wore. He didn't know much either, but he had met the Swami, and that was enough for him. So automatically I thought, after a couple of months, if that's enough for him, if he's changed my good friend this much, that's enough for me. I'm going to try this out. And when I first saw the Swami, I thought only one thing. This is the most beautiful, physically beautiful personality I've ever seen. I mean, his face was just lit up with joy and freshness, humor, and gladness. Wherever he walked, whatever he did, I watched him very intently and thought, this is the most beautiful physical human being I've ever seen. And he was 70 years old already. So that was the first thing that attracted us to Prabhupada, the Swami. He wasn't called Prabhupada yet. He was the Swami. We didn't know very much. I've just written this. How many people have read Volume 1? A few people have read. So, as Manjari knows very well, I sat in that little blue house behind here for 5 years and wrote these books. This is the first of 3 volumes called Chasing Rhinos with the Swamp. This first one, first volume, is about those early days in San Francisco and London also. So that's the only one I have in publication. Volume 2 is coming out next month. But Volume 1 covers the early days in San Francisco, and that's what Manjari asked me to speak about, the very earliest time. So first it was the Swami's beauty. Everything about him was so beautiful. Garlands and perfume. What is this stuff called? Sandalwood. Wow, that's pretty cool. Smells so good. And then he started telling us that then came knowledge. Knowledge was, he seemed to know everything. But what he told us about was that God was a person. Okay, well, all right. We kind of got some of that from our Christian training in our youth, that Jesus was a person. But God seemed to be if he was a person, he seemed to be some very remote old man or something. The Swami told us that, no, God is a young, beautiful, gorgeous person. Whoa! And he started showing us pictures of what he looked like. And we started thinking, wow, this is great. This is what God must be like. All attractive. A person. He loves. He feels pain. He enjoys. He suffers. God is a person. He has personal attributes. And then he started telling us that he plays the flute. And he runs around in the woods and plays with his girlfriends. Whoa, wow, now this is a cool idea. God, I'm gonna go with this for a while, see what happens. So the knowledge, he started pulling us in. He knew Sanskrit. Wow. And it seemed like such a deep, old language full of knowledge. He told us he came from a long line of teachers, which was very impressive now. Not just a long line, but millions of years old, this line of teaching. And then it comes down as an intact fruit, an intact knowledge. Boy, that really got us. More and more we were drawn into the Swami's web with his beauty, his knowledge, and the kind of magic that seemed to go with everything he did. Now, we were all hippies living in a magic world, really. Haight-Ashbury in 1967 was magic land. There's never been a historical phenomenon like Haight-Ashbury in 1967. So we were used to magic. We lived on magic. We expected magic in our lives every day. Things didn't happen by cause and effect. They happened. Everything was a happening. And Srila Prabhupada picked up that aura of magic that was in the air and personified it. The very first time I got a personal meeting with the Swami, I'll just read something from the book, a few sentences describing that meeting. So I'm in his room. He's called me up to his room. He had Mukunda call me up to his room. And he said, motioning me to scoot over and sit beside him behind the low table. His grace, his fragrance, which I later learned is sandalwood. He slips his glasses from a little case, takes his pen from another case, and brushing my arm with his shoulder, the soft rustle of cotton and jolts of electricity shoot through my neck like a heroin rush, and I'm overwhelmed with well-being. Now, he says, in keeping books, there are always 2 sides, income and debt. Debit? Debit? What did he say? And he slashes a bold line down the middle of the page and writes income above one column and expenses above the other. Under income, he jots down sales, donations, and fees. fees. And under expenses, he writes rent, food, and flowers. His script is flowery and bold. Minutes, it feels like hours, pass as I reel with comfort, his voice a gentle murmur in my ear. And then, so what is your understanding of the purpose of life? What? Did he just say, Swami, to become one with God? Yes, God is one, yes, but you are also one. So there are two, you and God. What is that relationship? You have to understand. Gradually you will come to understand. Now, this is the important thing, bookkeeping. So you come every morning and sit down and I will show you. So this was Srila Prabhupada, this is the Swami's manner, that for every philosophy there was knowledge, but there was also practical activity. You know, he filled our minds with knowledge, he filled our eyes and our senses with beauty, but we were very energetic creatures, and he fulfilled this desire for action by telling us about this wonderful thing called devotional service. That you act, whatever you do, your natural propensity is to keep acting, but you do that action for Krishna in a practical manner. And he said, you become Krishna conscious and you spread Krishna consciousness. Just those two things, that's all. One gets you the other. You get two for the price of one. You spread Krishna consciousness and you thereby become Krishna conscious. And his anthem behind all of this was the statement that makes up the title of this book. He says, we should always be enthusiastic to try for capturing the rhinoceros. That way, if we fail, everyone will say, never mind, no one can catch a rhinoceros anyway. And if we succeed, then everyone will say, just see what a wonderful thing they have done. So this was the anthem for our active service in those days. Go for the biggest things you can think of for Krishna. And boy, he not only taught us that, but he demonstrated it himself fully. He didn't just write to the local magistrate and ask him to become Krishna conscious. He wrote to the Pope. He wrote to the King of England. He wrote to the President of the United States. You must become Krishna conscious. And he instilled this desire in us from the very beginning to go after the biggest things we could to spread Krishna consciousness. He said, if you do that, you become Krishna conscious. This was the theme of our days. As a result, we went on to England, and the most famous, to start a temple there for the Swami. Because he loved London, he liked things. He was brought up in colonial British India, so he was very much influenced by things English, things British. More than anything, he wanted a temple in London. And at that time, the most famous people in the world were 4 members of a band called the Beatles, out of England, out of London. So we combined, our whole reciprocal relationship with Prabhupada was one of trying to stand out, trying to impress him, just to be more, attract his interest in me personally. I'll outdo my God brothers. I'll do something wonderful. He'll notice me. This was kind of a competitive spirit, the spiritual, transcendental competition that Prabhupada instilled in all of his earliest devotees. We tried to outdo each other, so he would look at me. So we volunteered to go to England to start a temple there. And our driving desire behind it all was to meet the Beatles and make them Krishna conscious. What a dream, huh? That's a rhino that you can't even imagine in those days. It would be like right now, for example, going to meet the biggest celebrity in the world and make them a devotee. Not possible. But it was a rhino hunt, and we did it. We not only did it, but we did it quite successfully. You know, so many things about the Swami attracted us. His beauty, the physical beauty I was talking about, the beauty that surrounds anything to do with Krishna, the knowledge. God, a devotee, Prabhupada, the Swami told us that a devotee knows everything. The devotee knows everything. And boy, did he prove it. I mean, you couldn't ask the Swami anything, any question that he couldn't answer immediately. Immediately, he knew the answer to anything you could ask him. So the knowledge is beauty. We walked down the street, I saw this thing flutter in front of me. I picked it up off the sidewalk. It was $100 bill. And we started looking around, and there were $100 bills flying in the wind all around us. No one else on the street. Malati and I ran up the street picking these all up, and we found several $1,000s just raining from the sky. Those are the kind of magic things that we started thinking about Krishna. And this paid all our bills for weeks and months in advance. But what got me, at least the most, and probably many devotees too, was the Swami's sense of humor. I mean, he was always joking. He had us in stitches. One moment he would be totally serious and telling us about the cosmic way things are all organized in the cosmos, how this whole thing works, and then he would tell a joke and have us in stitches. There's a little passage. Right off, one of the things I liked best about the Swami, he made you laugh. He was always calm and content, sure, but more than that, he was jolly. Even discussing very serious subjects, there was often the play of a smile around his lips, a chuckle to make a point, chuckle by chuckle building our inner glee. Then suddenly the guffaw, the quick delight. And when he's really surprised by the overtly absurd, a full rounded belly laugh trembles his body and tears streaming from his tight squinted eyes. He said, "You will feel yourself transcendently joyful in spite of your present physical body. Just like if you eat, you'll know yourself that you are eating, you are feeling strength, you are getting enlightened. Similarly, if you take this process of Krishna consciousness, in spite of your present physical body, you'll know that you are having something transcendental. That feeling will come with you. Krishna is always jolly. If you join his society, you will also become jolly." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, something or other, Sanskrit, which means there is an ocean of joy. Now this material ocean is stagnant, it does not increase. But this Anandambuddhi, this ocean of joy, transcendental bliss, that increases and increases. And there is unlimited space also to allow that increment. In every step you'll feel, that spiritual bliss. And that we began to get. So, I won't go on much more, but I went on then after our London days. Prabhupada, by then he's being called Prabhupada. They gave him the name Prabhupada, which fit. Prabhupada came to London, spent time with us, and then he took us, a bunch of us, to India. The second volume starts in India, where we spent almost 2 years with Srila Prabhupada on a daily basis, storming India, taking India by storm. The Swami and his white elephants, he called us. We were a national sensation. So then by some great stroke of good fortune, I became his secretary and traveled with him most of the next 3 years. Every day watching, getting to feel that bliss, totally seeing and becoming convinced beyond any doubt that I was seeing a perfect person. Huh? If you find somebody perfect in this world, you've got to follow them. You've got to understand what they're about. Srila Prabhupada was the perfect person. He didn't make any mistake. He never made an error of any kind. Can you imagine? I mean, I watch myself on a daily basis. I'm an introspective person. I make mistakes from the moment I wake up. I drop stuff. I forget stuff. I let the water run. I do all these things constantly. After 77 years, I'm just one connected mistake all day long. The Prabhupada never made a mistake of any kind. I mean, he never dropped anything. He never had to scratch out. When you hear his recitations, he would every night, when everyone else was sleeping, he would translate all night. By translate, he would give purports. He didn't translate this, it came out of his mind. He would speak purports into a dictaphone. Hour after hour, without a mistake of any kind. His editors, when they received these tapes, would just simply transcribe them. He would say, comma, da-da-da-da-da-da, stop, da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, just rattle it off without mistake, without error. You think about that, you know, and you have to understand that Prabhupada was totally conscious of every moment of his life. Totally conscious. If he's placing the pen on the table, he was totally conscious of placing that pen on the table. I would drop it. Prabhupada never made it. Once in a while he would do something funny, as if it was a mistake. Like one time, he came in from a morning walk wearing his gloves, his mittens. It was a cold day in London. And as he walked up the stairs, he laid his mittens on the banister and got halfway up the stairs. And Janaki said to him, "Swamiji, you forgot your mittens." And he turned down and smiled and says, "Oh, I have made a mistake." I won't go on much, but so we went to Russia. There's so many results of going to Prabhupada's 5 days in Moscow, 1970. You can't even imagine what the world was like in 1970. What a closed country Russia was from the rest of the world, behind the Iron Curtain. But Prabhupada kept wanting to go there. None of us could understand why he would want to go to Russia. You can't go anyway. No one can go. Why would he want to go there? It was the most, it was like a nightmare place. But somehow or other, I got him a visa to go there, and we went. In five days, he planted the seeds that became hundreds of thousands of Krishna devotees behind the Iron Curtain. And then the stories go on and on. That's the next volume. Russia. We went all around the world, different Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Japan, on and around the world, around the world. And you know what? Not only did I never see Prabhupada make a mistake, I never saw him sleep. You would think in 2 years, 24-hour contact, that I would have seen Prabhupada sleeping. I never saw him sleep. Never saw him. One time I thought I would catch him sleeping. We were on a train, a first-class air-conditioned compartment from Bombay to Madras, Chennai, Madras in those days. And it got later and later, and the devotees all left the room and locked the door. And Prabhupada said, just lay my things for translating here. I will work some more. You go ahead and go to bed. My bunk was above his bunk. So I went up and I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a moon shining through the window of the train car. And the light was out. So I knew he was in bed. And I thought, I'm going to catch him sleeping now. And I looked over the bunk down there and he was curled up in a ball, like with his chada up over his head, very still. And as I looked down, he lifted his head just a little bit so the chada fell off of one eye, and his eye was wide open, looking up at him. You thought he'd catch me sleeping, huh? Prabhupada was such a delight, morning, day, and night. And in his presence, you never felt any fear or anxiety of any kind. And these situations were, we were in some tough situations all the time. But it was like being in an air-conditioned room in the middle of a desert to be around Prabhupada. There was an aura of coolness on his body, of perfect peace. Prabhupada. And still look at the results of what he has done in his. He came to us at 70 years of age. An old man, when most people are at that age are looking at sleeping and eating out their days. But Prabhupada's duty, his job, his mission was just beginning at 70. Huh? What he did. 10 years. And his movement, his Krishna consciousness movement, is now here to stay forever and ever and ever. It will never go away. It will only get bigger and bigger and bigger. Just in my short lifetime, what I've seen. So I hope you'll all follow along with me, these wonderful adventures. Volume 2 is coming out this month. You can look on my website, chasingrhinos.com. And I've got some books here. If you haven't got one yet, you can pick one up. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna. Thank you very much. Now we can enjoy prasadam. Oh, thank you so much. What is my photo?
Risk jail if you were preaching any kind of religion.
Right. That must have been something.
Does anybody need anything? Water?
Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Обратите внимание, вот женщина сидит абсолютно с прямой спиной. Так же, как и я. Раз в неделю на запад медитации. Серега жжет.